So what saved me at that time was that on the weekends, I would volunteer at something called the Interagency Committee on Mexican-American Affairs. I was living right behind the White House. And next door, there was that agency. It was formed by Johnson. And I remember I was helping them develop a compilation of any Mexican-American that had a college degree. That's where we were in 1970 or 69. We were just trying to develop this network of people who had some form of higher education, right? So that was the other time when it became so clear that my population, the people who looked like me, were not participating equally in the world that I saw in Washington, D.C. So, because I had been volunteering there, when I decided I was going to leave the Foreign Service but did not want to come back to the ranch at Chino, I went to them and I said, is there any way I can have a job? And they said, yeah. I think it was Vicente Jimenez, who was the director at that time. He said, yes, we'll give you a job. So from that vantage point, I began to see, my God, there are Chicanos in Kansas, in Ohio, in Iowa, in Alaska, in Wisconsin, in Chicago. Chicago's huge. Chicago? There are Mexicans in Chicago? So it became an issue of, my God, this is a national panorama. So while Johnson was still president, I felt very comfortable in that agency. Johnson leaves, Nixon comes on board, and all of a sudden, the guys who had been appointed by Johnson are gone. And here come the new Republican guys. First time I ever saw a man with nail polish, three-piece polyester suits, a whole different breed of Chicanos that I'd never met. You know, these were like slick. I can't think of any. And before that, I was part of the professional team. And as soon as these guys arrived, the two women in the office were relegated to secretariat. We were never included in their meetings. They locked themselves behind closed doors. You could hear them laughing and drinking. But we were on the outside, doing our little tabulations of finding where we were nationally in this. But I began to feel the exclusion. I began to feel, they're not taking us seriously. And that was still tolerable. But all it took was one time when farm workers, I think from Yakima Valley, had driven night and day to get to Washington, D.C. to meet with them. And they came in very early in the morning. They looked exhausted. And the secretary told them that, no, the directors in the office weren't in. And they said, okay, we'll wait. So they waited all morning. They waited all afternoon. And those guys were in the office behind closed doors and just not willing to meet with them. That was my memory of that. And I was so angry that I resigned.